welcome back to my channel. I hope you're all doing well out there. And today we're going to go back to the 70s for a TV movie. Although it did get theatrical distribution in Europe, we'll talk about that. But before we get into it, do me a favor, like, comment, and subscribe. Join me here. I greatly would appreciate that. Also, as always, a shameless plug for my Zazzle and my TeePublic page. I'll leave a link for both of those in the description box below. And today we're going to talk about a Wes Craven movie, a TV movie Wes Craven directed, called Summer of Fear. Although upon release, when it first aired, it was called Stranger in Our House. Now, this first aired October 31st of 1978 on NBC. It's an hour and 38 minutes long. It was rated PG-13 when it went out to Europe. This actually did get a theatrical release in Europe, and they changed the title to Summer of Fear for the theatrical release, and it's held on. This is a Blu-ray release through Doppelganger Releasings. It has an interview with Linda Blair, audio commentary with Wes Craven, trailer, and some stills galleries as well. So if you like this film, you could get it. I think I bought this for $12 on Amazon, so it's a fairly reasonably priced movie, and we're going to talk about it right now. But before we get into this, I want to give a shout out to my good friend Dale_A and Chuck over at the Bat and Spider podcast. Do me a favor, go over to Apple Podcasts or Spotify. Check those guys out. Those guys are awesome. They just did an episode a week and a half ago on this movie. And I've heard of it, but I've never seen it. And just based off of listening to those two guys talking about it, I purchased it and I watched it and I'm reviewing it here. So please go over and check those guys out at Spotify or Apple Podcasts and show those guys some love. They're awesome. That is the Bat and Spider podcast. And this movie was directed by Wes Craven. This was his first movie he directed after he moved to LA. He was based out of New York. I know he filmed the Hills Have Eyes and that out west, but he was based out of New York. He moved to LA, and this was his first movie that he made after he moved to LA. Now, The Hills Have Eyes came out in 77. This came out in 78, and then he would do Deadly Blessing, comes out in 81, then Swamp Thing, so on and so forth after that. Now, in this film, we have a good little cast here, and there's a bunch of recognizable old school TV faces in this movie, but I'm just going to go over to the main people that, everybody will know. First up is Linda Blair, plays Rachel Bryant. Linda Blair was just coming off of The Exorcist and The Exorcist 2, and this is the first time she would team up with Wes Craven. Obviously, she would come back later to work with Wes in 1996 on Scream, where she plays a reporter. Lee Purcell plays Julia Trent. She is Rachel's cousin, and we'll talk about that in a second. Jeff East plays Peter Bryant, Rachel's brother, and he was young Superman in the original Dick Donner Superman movie, and he would go on to be in other films as well. And Fran Drescher makes her first TV appearance as Caroline, Rachel's friend. She's also a nurse at the local hospital. Now, Rachel and her parents and her brother are well off. They have a nice house. Rachel has a horse, which in the original novel by Lois Duncan, who also wrote the novel based on, I know he did last summer, was based on, it was a dog. But Linda Blair was big into horses, still is to this day, and Wes Craven switched it to a horse instead of a dog for the movie. And they get word that their cousin Julia's parents were killed in a horrible car accident. And they're inviting her to come live with them for a period of time until she figures out what she's going to do and try to help her through this. And Julia shows up, and she's very quiet, very timid at first. But slowly you see her starting to open up and become more assertive and almost a little sinister. And strange things start to happen. And Rachel soon discovers that Julia is doing what she feels is like witchcraft. Like she finds this... her horse has been acting weird around Julia and almost, tries to stomp on her. And she finds this like little totem that was made by Julia of her horse with her horsehair and all that. And she breaks out in these hives and can't go to this dance. And Julia ends up going with her boyfriend, and they end up becoming a couple then. So all these kinds of strange things. Her father starts paying more attention to Julia than Rachel. All these weird things. And they have this professor that lives right down the street, and she starts asking him about, he teaches about witchcraft sometimes and superstition. And towards the end, as we're getting into the end of the film, he says, yes, I do believe she is practicing witchcraft. And we get this car chase at the end. We get this reveal that Julia isn't really Rachel's cousin. It was the housekeeper for Julia and her parents. And Julia is actually dead because they've never seen a photo of Julia. they're aware of her, but her parents have not seen Julia in quite some time, and they just feel like this woman is Julia, even though it's not. And she's just trying to get herself into the family for the money, and her plan is to kill off the mother and Rachel and all that, so she can have the father and live in the lap of luxury. It's really sinister stuff, and but it's a TV movie, so it's not overly bloody, it's not overly gory. We do get some witchcraft stuff and all that, and her eyes turn at the end, and she dies in a fiery car crash, although we think she does. But at the end, we get the stinger where she's showing up at a new estate, and that's the end of the film. So what to like about this film? I think Lee Purcell is great as the witch, or this unbeknownst entity that's come upon this family, being invited in as one of their relatives, even though she is not. I think she gives a really good performance here. Everybody's pretty good here. Linda Blair's good. I mean, she's already, like I said, coming off The Exorcist and The Exorcist 2. And she's good here. So the acting's not bad. The story is intriguing. And this is the heyday of the TV movie. And there's something comforting, like a warm blanket, about a good old school TV movie. Another great one is Dark Night of the Scarecrow. And then in the 80s, we got all the Stephen King adaptations. Bad Ronald was a TV movie. I've reviewed a few here. I like TV movies. I really do. There was something special about that time where there would be like a movie of the week, or, you know, they would make a movie for TV for Halloween. I mean, this aired on Halloween night in 1978. And then it got theatrical release. Now, as for Wes Craven's directing, there's some cool stunts in this film as well. There's a horse fall, the car chase at the end. It's all well handled. Wes Craven directing this film, honestly, watching this film, you would never know this was directed by Wes Craven if you didn't already know. Stylistically, it feels like a TV movie. I mean, this was shot in 35 millimeter, but it was, I mean, there's a little bit of style there, but you would never know this was a Wes Craven film. Where some of his later work from Nightmare on Elm Street on, you could tell it's a Wes Craven movie. This one, honestly, if you wouldn't know it, anybody could have directed this film. So, in that department, it's solidly handled for a TV movie, but it's nothing to write home about. At the end of the day, this is a pretty solid little horror TV movie type of deal. And dealing with witchcraft, which has been a kind of a theme lately with some of my reviews. And I really enjoyed it. And I want to thank Bat and Spider once again for putting me onto this. Because I've heard of this movie, I just never seen it. I'm glad I bought it. It's a movie I will watch again. And it's a very solid TV horror movie. And at the end of the day, I would give this one a 7.5 out of 10. It's very solid. Have you ever seen or even heard of this film? Leave a comment down below, let me know. I just gave it a 7.5 out of 10. Hit the thumbs up, hit the subscribe button, share this video. I greatly would appreciate that. I'll be back soon with some more reviews, but until next time, bye.